The morning on Vestra 9 station was always busy, but this morning felt even louder and more crowded. Ships from different worlds had arrived at the same time, and every corridor was filled with voices, footsteps, and the sharp smell of fuel. Traders argued about prices, robots rolled with delivery crates, and the ceiling lights flickered from overuse. Humans were a small minority on this massive alien station. So the crowd was full of strange shapes, glowing skin, floating beings, and tall creatures with shimmering armor. Kai Mercer walked through that noisy mess like it was normal. For him, it was. He had lived on Vestra 9 for 5 years, working as a maintenance technician. His job was simple: fix things nobody else wanted to fix, crawl into dangerous places, and keep the power lines working. It was not the kind of life that made people rich or famous, but it was steady. It kept him busy and alive. Kai was tired, carrying a small tool bag over his shoulder and yawning every few steps. He had been awake through the night, fixing a failing waste processing system. The smell still clung to his clothes. He wanted nothing more than a hot drink, something strong enough to wake him up and sweet enough to remind him that life wasn't completely terrible. He stepped into the station cafe, a wide circular room with hovering menus, moving seats, and a long line of aliens waiting for their morning drinks. The scent of heated spices and strange fruit oils filled the air. Kai joined the line, rubbing his eyes and trying not to bump into the creature in front of him, a tall, feathery alien who kept flapping its wings nervously. That was when he noticed her. She stood a little ahead in the line, and she looked different from everyone else. Her skin was soft, silver, glowing faintly under the cafe lights. Thin lines of blue light ran across her cheeks like natural markings. Her long hair floated slightly, as if it was lighter than air, and her eyes, bright violet, were scanning the payment console with confusion. She wore simple clothes, like a traveling student. But there was something graceful about her, something calm and elegant. Kai had seen many aliens during his years here, but none like her. She tapped the console again. It flashed red. She frowned and tried a different button. The console flashed red again. The alien behind her clicked its tongue impatiently. Another muttered something in a language Kai didn't understand. The crowd was growing restless. The silver-skinned girl stepped back slightly, clearly embarrassed. Kai sighed, not because she annoyed him, but because he knew that console. It malfunctioned at least once a week. The cafe owner refused to replace it. And now, this girl was stuck, holding the line for everyone. Kai stepped forward. "Hey," he said gently, "it's not you. That console just hates people." She turned, surprised. Her violet eyes widened when she saw him. Humans were not common here. Not many of them spoke casually to strangers. Most aliens expected humans to be nervous or overly formal. The girl lowered her voice. "I cannot make it work." "That's normal," Kai said with a tired smile. "It barely works for anyone." He stepped beside her, pulled his own payment chip from his wristband, and tapped it on the lower right corner of the console, the only part that still worked. The console beeped green. "Payment approved." "There you go." He stepped back, letting her pass. "It's covered." She stared at him. "You paid for my drink?" "Yeah," he said, already turning away. "It's no big deal. Just get something warm and enjoy your morning. This place is stressful enough." The girl opened her mouth to reply. But Kai was already stepping into his own spot in the line. He didn't even wait to hear her say thank you. He was too tired to think about it. But she didn't walk away. She kept watching him. The crowd pushed her forward toward the pickup counter. But her eyes stayed fixed on the human who had helped her without hesitation, without asking anything in return. No bow, no formal greeting, no fear, just simple kindness. This was something rare to her, something special. Her name was Lyra Valen, though Kai had no way of knowing that. No one in the cafe knew it. She had introduced herself to no one. She was not a simple visitor or trader. She was the daughter of the Veylan dynasty, the ruling family of one of the wealthiest alien cultures in the quadrant. Her people controlled trade routes, mining colonies, and entire star systems. Their power was famous, their wealth was enormous, but no one would guess that by looking at her now. She wore plain clothes and a small translation band, blending into the crowd like any normal traveler. Lyra lifted her hot drink carefully, feeling the warm steam brush against her glowing skin. She walked to a quiet corner of the cafe, away from the noise, and continued to watch Kai. He had no idea who she was, no idea what her people expected of her, no idea that she had left her home for a desperate reason. Her society followed old traditions. Every heir had to choose their future partner without influence of wealth or status. No matchmakers, no arranged contracts, no political pressure. It had to be a choice made from genuine connection. Lyra had refused dozens of suitors. Every candidate her parents introduced was obsessed with power, money, or position. None cared for her as a person. And now, the elders had given her an ultimatum: choose a partner soon, or lose her place as heir. Her family did not understand why she cared so much about finding someone honest. They said love was a story for children. But Lyra believed it mattered. She believed sincerity mattered. She believed kindness mattered. Then Kai Mercer had appeared out of nowhere and paid for her drink without thinking twice. He didn't ask for her name. He didn't brag or try to impress her. He didn't even seem to care what species she belonged to. To Lyra, that moment felt like a spark in a dark room. She watched Kai finally reach the counter and receive his own drink. He looked exhausted, shoulders slouched, hands rough with work. He wasn't like the polished, wealthy suitors she had met. He wasn't surrounded by guards, servants, or advisors. He didn't wear expensive clothes. He was real. He was humble. And he didn't look at her with fear. That was enough to make her curious, deeply curious. She quietly left the cafe, walking out into the crowded corridor. But she didn't go far. She waited for Kai to exit. When he did, she followed him at a careful distance. Not to spy on him, not to judge him, but because she finally felt a small piece of hope. Maybe this human, this simple worker, could teach her something about sincerity. Maybe he held the answer she had been searching for. And Kai Mercer, still unaware of everything, sipped his drink and continued his walk, completely clueless that a billionaire alien heiress, desperate for an honest connection, had just chosen to follow him into the next chapter of both their lives. Lyra Veylan walked through the busy lower districts of Vestra 9, with her hood pulled low and her eyes scanning every corner. She moved carefully between broken machines, flashing neon signs, and the rough crowds that filled this part of the station. This was not the kind of place someone of her status ever visited, but she had no choice. The human she was searching for lived and worked here. Kai Mercer, the man who had paid for her drink like it was the most normal thing in the world. For the last 2 cycles, she had thought continuously about him, his calm voice, his easy smile, and the way he treated her with simple kindness instead of fear or calculation. No suitor from her world ever behaved that way. Most tried to impress her with speeches, gifts, or family connections. Kai did something none of them ever did. He expected nothing in return. Now she wanted to know more about him. She wanted to understand what kind of person he truly was. Lyra stepped around a group of merchants arguing over shipping fees and moved toward Sector 7, where she believed Kai worked. Her small holo device showed a list of maintenance routes, unofficially accessed through a hacked public network. She felt guilty breaking rules. But she had no other way to find him. As she turned a corner, she heard a sharp crack followed by a burst of sparks. A power conduit had exploded. Workers shouted. Warning alarms flashed red. A wave of smoke rolled through the corridor. People rushed away from the danger, pushing each other to escape the spreading fumes. But one person ran toward it. Lyra recognized him instantly. Kai. He slid under a half-broken security gate, coughing through the smoke but determined to reach the unstable power system. He wore no protective gear, only a small toolkit strapped to his belt. It was clearly dangerous, but he didn't hesitate. "Why is he alone?" Lyra whispered to herself. A nearby vendor explained, panting as he closed his stall. "The station's short on workers. That human takes most of the unstable jobs. Says if he doesn't do it, the whole station might go dark." Lyra's chest tightened. Why would someone risk himself for strangers who barely noticed him? She pushed forward, determined to get closer. The air grew hotter as she approached the site. The blown conduit lay on the ground, crackling with unstable energy. Sparks flew like angry insects. A fire suppression drone hovered above, but it wasn't enough. Kai knelt beside the metal casing, digging his hands into the wiring. His jaw was set, eyes sharp with focus, even as sweat ran down his neck. Lyra wanted to call out, to offer help, but she didn't want to distract him. So she waited, watching with a nervous, tight feeling in her stomach. Minutes passed. Finally, Kai managed to pull a damaged circuit free and replace it with a temporary one from his toolkit. He slammed the panel shut and rolled backward just as another burst of sparks shot out. The alarm turned yellow, then green. Emergency stabilized. Kai fell onto his back, breathing hard. Lyra stepped forward then, unable to stop herself. That was dangerous. He blinked up at her, surprised. "Oh, hi. It's you. The drink girl." She smiled softly, though her heart still raced from fear. "My name is Lyra." "Nice name," Kai said, pushing himself to his feet. "Are you following me?" Lyra froze. She hadn't expected him to ask so directly. "No. I was walking, and I saw the alarm." He raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced, but he didn't press. "Well, you shouldn't be here. This part of the station breaks more than it works." "You work here," she said. "Yeah," he replied with a shrug. "Someone has to." Lyra studied him carefully. He looked tired again, just like in the cafe, but not defeated. There was a quiet strength in him, something steady and grounded. "Why do you do it?" she asked. "This job is dangerous." "Because people need the systems running," Kai said simply. "Doesn't matter what species they are. Everyone deserves a safe place to live." Lyra stared. That answer, she didn't expect it. It was too pure, too honest. Most powerful beings she knew only helped others if it benefited them. But Kai's reason was simple and human. She followed him as he gathered his tools and wiped his hands on his shirt. "Would you like to have lunch with me?" she asked, before she could stop herself. Kai blinked again. "Lunch? With me?" "Yes." He tilted his head, studying her. "We don't even know each other." Lyra hesitated. She wanted to tell him everything, who she was, why she was here, why she felt drawn to him. But she couldn't. Not yet. If she revealed her identity too soon, he might change how he acted around her. That was her greatest fear. "I want to know you," she said simply. Kai scratched the back of his neck. "Okay. Sure. I'm not doing anything after this shift." Her heart lifted. "Good." They walked toward a small food stall nearby. The vendor, a thick-skinned alien with gentle eyes, greeted Kai warmly. "Back again, human? You always order the same thing." Kai laughed. "And it always fills me up." Lyra watched him interact with others easily, without fear or awkwardness. For a human surrounded by so many other species, he behaved like it was completely normal. He never acted inferior or superior. Just himself. They sat at a small metal table. Kai ate quickly, hungry from the long morning. Lyra ate slowly, her mind busy with questions. "Where are you from?" Kai asked between bites. "A far place," she answered. He grinned. "That's not an answer. It is Complicated. Kai didn't push. He simply nodded. Another rare thing. Most people wanted to know everything about her. He allowed her boundaries. Lyra sipped her drink. Do you enjoy your life here? Fall. Kai hesitated. I like helping people. But I'd like more someday. Maybe a small ship of my own. Maybe a business. He shrugged again. But dreams cost credits. And credits come slow. Lyra looked down at the table. She had enough money to buy an entire wing of the station. She could change his life with one small transfer. But she couldn't reveal that, not without breaking the tradition she was bound to. Still, she wished she could help him. As they finished lunch, Kai stretched and stood. I need to get back to work. Break's over. Lyra stood as well. Can I walk with you? Kai looked surprised but pleased. Sure. If you don't mind stepping over broken pipes and listening to me swear at machines. She smiled. I do not mind. They walked through the corridors again. Talking about simple things, the station markets, the strange foods, the way humans were viewed by other species. Lyra kept stealing small glances at him, trying to understand what made him different. Kai talked freely, unaware of how rare his openness was for someone speaking to a high-class alien heir, even though he didn't know who she was. As they approached another maintenance zone, a loud chime sounded from Lyra's wristband. She froze. The message displayed in her native script bright and unmistakable. Return home immediately. You have 14 cycles left to choose a partner. Failure will remove you from the line of inheritance. Lyra's heart sank. She turned the device off quickly before Kai could see. Her hands trembled. Kai noticed her sudden stiffness. You okay? Lyra forced a nod. Yes. Just a reminder. Important? He asked. Very. She walked silently beside him for a moment, struggling with the weight of her secret. She had found someone honest. Someone she wanted to learn from. Someone who saw her as a person, not an heir. But her time was running out. And she still didn't know if Kai would accept her truth or walk away. One thing was certain. She needed to tell him soon. But the fear inside her whispered that if he knew who she really was, the simple kindness he had shown might disappear forever. The next morning on Vestra 9 was quieter than usual. A soft blue glow came from the large windows facing the starfields, and the ships arriving today were fewer than normal. But inside Maintenance Sector 7, the silence didn't last long. A heavy explosion burst through the far corridor. The lights flickered. Metal dust shook from the ceiling. Warning alarms began ringing one after another, forming a chain of urgent sounds that echoed all through the worker tunnels. Kai Mercer was already running. He knew that sound too sharp to be a small failure, too loud to be a simple glitch. Something important had blown, and if he didn't reach it fast, half the district might lose power. Maybe worse. He rushed past stacked crates and glowing hazard signs, jumping over fallen pipes and pushing aside drifting smoke. His tool bag slammed against his hip with every step. When he turned the corner, he saw it. A reactor coolant valve had ruptured, sending a shower of sparks and hot gas across the room. Several workers had already escaped, shouting warnings as they ran past Kai. Mercer, don't go in. It's unstable, one yelled. Kai didn't slow down. If no one stops it, the whole block goes critical. And then he disappeared into the smoke. Lyra arrived seconds later. She had been looking for Kai since early morning, worrying about the message from her family. She wanted to talk to him, to understand her own heart better, before her time ran out. But when she reached Sector 7, she heard the explosion, and panic filled her instantly. She pushed through the workers fleeing the area and saw the smoke-filled corridor where Kai had run. Her heart slammed against her chest. Kai! She shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the alarm sirens. Lyra didn't think she moved. Her feet carried her into the danger without hesitation. A wave of hot air struck her face. But she didn't stop. Her silver skin glowed brighter, as her body activated small natural defenses her species had developed over centuries. Inside, she found Kai struggling to close a large manual valve. The heat was intense. The broken coolant pipe behind him radiated white-hot sparks. He coughed hard, covering his mouth with his sleeve. "Kai!" she yelled again. He turned, shock on his face. "Lyra? What are you doing here? Get out!" "I am not leaving you," she said firmly. "You can't be here," Kai shouted. "This place is too dangerous." Before he finished, a pipe above them snapped. A heavy metal piece dropped, falling straight toward him. Lyra reacted faster than any human could. She leaped forward with unnatural speed, grabbed his arm, and pulled him out of the way. The pipe slammed into the floor, sending another burst of sparks into the air. Kai stared at her, stunned. "How did you?" Lyra didn't answer. She placed her hand on the damaged control panel, and the markings on her skin glowed brighter. Thin streams of blue energy spread from her fingertips into the panel, stabilizing several circuits instantly. Kai's jaw dropped. "Lyra, what are you doing? How can you do that?" Another tremor shook the room. The coolant pressure rose again, and the warning lights turned red. Lyra grabbed Kai's hand. "Move. We must fix the primary valve, or the reactor will overload." Together, they pushed toward the main control wheel. Kai forced his shoulder against the lock bar, while Lyra used her glowing hands to override the energy seal. The wheel slowly turned, fighting against the pressure. But finally, it clicked into the safety position. The alarms shifted from red to yellow, then from yellow to green. Stability regained. The smoke thinned. The heat cooled. Kai slumped to his knees, exhausted. Lyra knelt beside him, breathing heavily. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kai finally asked, in a soft, confused voice, "Lyra, what are you?" She looked down at her hands, still glowing faintly. She knew this moment would come. She had tried to delay it, hoping she could understand Kai better before telling him everything. But destiny had forced her hand. "I am not a normal traveler," she said quietly. Kai blinked. "Okay, that sounds familiar. Why does it sound familiar?" "Because my family controls the Veylan Consortium," she continued. "We own trade routes, mining colonies, and financial houses across 3 star systems." Kai's eyes widened. "Wait, your family is that Veylan? The Billionaire dynasty?" Lyra nodded slowly. Kai stared at her with pure disbelief. "But you dress simple, you talk simple. You eat at small stalls. You followed me around the station. Why would someone like you do that?" Lyra lowered her head. "Because I am in trouble." Kai frowned. "What kind of trouble could a billionaire heiress have?" Right. "The kind that no credits can fix," she answered. She hesitated, then continued. "My people have a tradition. An heir must choose a life partner without influence of wealth or power. A partner chosen by sincerity. A partner who cares for the person, not the status. I refused many arranged matches. Now I have only 14 cycles left." Kai's breath caught. 14 cycles? To choose someone? Yes. Or I lose my place as heir. My family believes I am too idealistic. They want me to follow tradition. But they also want me to make a political match. They do not understand how those two goals contradict each other. Kai leaned back, processing everything. "So, you came here to find someone honest?" "Yes." Lyra touched her chest lightly. "Someone who sees me as a person, not a symbol." Kai fell silent again. Lyra swallowed hard. "And when you paid for my drink so casually, without caring who I was, I felt something. It was small, but real." Kai rubbed his forehead. "Lyra, that was just me, being Me. Yes, she said softly. Exactly. A quiet hum filled the room as the repaired systems stabilized. But between them, the air felt heavy with emotion. Kai finally spoke. Lyra, I'm just a maintenance worker. I don't have money. I don't have a special background. I fix broken machines and try not to die in the process. Why would your family ever accept someone like me? They would not, Lyra said honestly. Not easily. And you think I can just become your partner? Just like that? Lyra looked directly into his eyes. I am not asking you to decide now. I only ask you to understand why I came here. Why I stayed close to you. Why I risked myself for you. Kai looked away, overwhelmed. Lyra added softly. I am afraid, Kai. I have never met someone who treated me like you did. I do not want to lose that. I do not want to lose you. Kai froze. Then the silence was shattered. A loud metallic clank echoed from the entrance. Lyra stiffened instantly. The air in the room changed, and not in a good way. 5 tall figures stepped through the smoke. Their armor was sleek silver. Their eyes glowed blue. Their movements were sharp and disciplined. Valen royal guards. Kai instinctively stepped in front of Lyra, even though he knew he stood no chance. The lead guard spoke in a firm, echoing voice. Princess Lyra Valen. Your parents demand your immediate return. You are forbidden from continuing this reckless search. Kai looked at Lyra in shock. Princess? Lyra whispered. That word has no meaning to me. Not compared to your kindness. The guard pointed at Kai. The human will step aside. He is unworthy of your presence. Redder. Lyra's eyes hardened like steel. No. The guards paused. Lyra stepped forward, voice strong and clear. This human saved lives today. He risked himself to protect this station. He has shown more honor than any suitor my family has ever brought to me. Kai stared at her, stunned. The lead guard replied coldly, Your parents will not approve. Lyra lifted her chin. Then, let them hear my choice from my own mouth. The guards exchanged looks. The tension thickened. Kai realized something important in that moment. Lyra wasn't just desperate for an heir partner. She was fighting for her freedom. And now, she was fighting for him too. The camp grew quiet as the twin moons rose higher in the sky. Their pale light touched the desert stones and made them glow like cold metal. Farid stood alone near the edge of the ridge, looking at the horizon where the enemy fortress waited like a dark beast. He felt the weight of the coming battle pressing on his chest, but he also felt something new, strength born from trust, unity, and hope. Behind him, the humans and alien allies were preparing for the next step of their mission. Tarek moved from group to group, helping the warriors understand the battle plan. Rojan checked each energy shield with calm focus. Even the small drone, Pip, hovered around the supply crates and beeped proudly, as if ready to fight too. Farid turned and walked back toward them. He knew time was short. The fortress would not stay quiet forever. A gathering of allies. Captain Mira called everyone together near the central fire. Its blue flame flickered softly, making their faces glow. She looked at each of them and then spoke in her steady, clear voice. Tonight, she said, we start the final move. The fortress is not ready for us, but we are ready for it. The team nodded. They trusted her. She pointed at the glowing map floating above the fire. The enemy controls the upper gates. The force fields are strong, but not perfect. There is a hidden service tunnel here. She tapped the map, and a small door icon blinked. If we enter from that side, we can reach the inner control room. Rojan stepped forward. My people studied the fortress before it fell into enemy hands. That tunnel is narrow, but safe. Only a small group can enter. Tarek crossed his arms. So who goes in? Mira looked at Farid. Farid, Tarek, Rojan, and I. The others created distraction outside. Farid felt his heart jump, but he forced himself to nod. He knew this was why he had come so far. Once inside, Mira continued, we disable the main shield generator. That will give the rest of our forces a chance to attack. Pip beeped loudly, as if asking to come too. Mira smiled. Yes, Pip. You are coming as well. The group laughed softly. And for a moment, the fear faded. They were not alone. They were a team, stronger together than any one species had ever been alone. The march to the fortress. Before dawn, they began their quiet march. The sand crunched under their boots, and the cold wind brushed against their faces. The landscape around them looked endless rocky cliffs, broken towers from ancient civilizations, and the faint outline of the fortress in the distance. The fortress grew larger as they approached. High walls rose like mountains, covered in glowing red circuits. Tall cannons pointed at the sky, ready to shoot anything that came close. Farid felt a chill run through him. This was no simple enemy base. This was a machine built for war, built to crush hope. But he also felt a fire inside him. He remembered the people depending on them, the alliances formed, and the promise he made to protect their future. When they reached the base of a cliff, Rojan led them to a rocky crack hidden behind a fallen boulder. He brushed away some dust, and a metal hatch appeared. This is it, he whispered. Tarek tapped the door with his knuckles. Looks small. It will be enough, Rojan replied calmly. Mira opened the hatch, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the fortress. Farid took a deep breath and stepped inside first. Inside the enemy fortress. The tunnel was narrow and cold. Their footsteps echoed as they walked deeper. Strange humming sounds vibrated through the metal walls. Pip floated ahead, shining a small light to guide the way. After several minutes, they reached a ladder that climbed upward. Mira signaled them to move quietly. One by one, they climbed until they reached the inner maintenance level. Here, the sounds were louder machines working, guards walking, alarms beeping. Farid peeked around a corner. 2 enemy soldiers stood near a door, talking in their harsh, metallic language. Mira whispered, "We avoid them. No fights until necessary." They moved quickly and silently, using shadows as cover. Rojan scanned every hallway, guiding them through the maze of pipes and wires. At last, they reached the control room door. It was large and protected by a glowing lock. Tarek frowned. How do we bypass that? Pip floated forward, beeped twice, and connected a small wire to the door's control panel. Sparks danced. Then, the lock turned green. Farid smiled. Good job, Pip. They entered the room. The heart of the fortress. The control room was wide and filled with glowing screens. A giant beam of blue energy rose from the floor to the ceiling. This was the shield generator strong enough to protect the entire fortress from any outside attack. Rojan walked to the main console. We need to overload the core. But the moment I start, the fortress will know. Mira nodded. Then we must be ready. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Farid's heart raced. A voice echoed through the speakers, cold and sharp. Intruders detected. Seal all exits. Tarek pulled out his weapon. So much for quiet. The door slammed shut behind them. Heavy footsteps approached. Mira spoke quickly. Farid, protect Rojan while he overloads the generator. Tarek and I will hold the entrance. Farid nodded and stood beside Rojan. Rojan's fingers moved fast across the control panel. It will take 1 minute. The footsteps grew louder. Then the door exploded open. Enemies stormed in metal-armored soldiers with glowing red visors. Tarek fired. Mira struck with calm skill. The room filled with blasts of energy. Farid blocked a shot aimed at Rojan and pushed an enemy back. Adrenaline surged through him. He fought not with fear, but with purpose. Every move was for the team. Every breath was for the mission. Pip darted around, sending small shock charges at enemies, distracting them long enough for Tarek and Mira to strike. Rojan yelled, 30 seconds! More enemies poured in. Farid felt sweat drip down his face. His arms shook, but he did not step back. 10 seconds! Rojan shouted. Suddenly, a massive enemy entered the room, tall, armored, with a blade glowing like fire. It charged at Farid. Farid raised his shield. The blade struck with incredible force, pushing him backward. His feet slid across the floor. 5 seconds! Rojan cried. Farid pushed with everything he had. His shield glowed brighter. The giant enemy stepped back, slightly surprised. Farid swung his arm and struck. The giant fell. Rojan shouted, "Overload complete! Get down!" The generator exploded with a blast of bright blue light. The shockwave pushed everyone to the floor. The lights flickered. The entire fortress shook. Mira coughed and stood up. "The shield is down. We did it." Farid lay on the floor, breathing hard. The escape. But the mission was not over. The fortress was collapsing. "We need to leave now," Mira shouted. They ran back through the hallway. Pipes burst. Sparks flew. The floor cracked beneath their feet. Pip beeped urgently and led the way. When they reached the tunnel hatch, the outside air hit them like a cold wave. They climbed out just as the fortress's upper wall crumbled behind them. Explosions lit the sky. Allied ships above fired at the now unprotected fortress. Ground forces rushed forward. Their chance had come. Mira looked at Farid and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did well. Because of you, the path is open." Farid looked at the battlefield and felt something deep inside him rise: pride, strength, and courage. The war was not won yet. But hope was alive, and Farid was ready for the final part of the journey.